Hey guys, we're going to be doing the language homework Q24 review. So let's go ahead and start on Monday. It says label the parts of speech for each underlined word. Your sentence says, I sometimes write in my personal journal before my bedtime. All right, so our first word that's underlined is sometimes. Sometimes is modifying the word write. We know that write is a verb. So you have to assume that sometimes is going to be an adverb. Adverbs will modify the verb. Next word that's underlined is my. My is showing who the journal belongs to. So my is going to be a pronoun. More specifically, it is a possessive pronoun. All right, your next underlined word is personal. Personal is describing the word journal. Now we know that journal is a thing, so it is a noun. We know that adjectives describe nouns, so personal is going to be an adjective. The last underlined word is bedtime. Again, we know that bedtime is a thing, so we know that that would make it a noun. On the next box, we have our list of words that we're going to be using for different boxes throughout the week. So right below that one, it says which word means to say or write down how something or someone looks. So you're going to look back through these words. Which of these words is saying how someone or something looks? That would be the word describe. All right, your next box says what part of speech is underlined? Your sentence says, wait, don't go that way. Now, if I'm saying wait and I'm ending my sentence with an exclamation mark, I'm putting emotion into this sentence. So we know that when we do that, we're putting an interjection in there. So wait is an interjection. All right, your next box says write an antonym for the underlined word. The climb to the top of Mount Everest was a challenge. All right, so we know that the word challenge is going to be something that is difficult or hard to do. So we need something that's going to mean the opposite. So something that would say that it's easy or it is not difficult. So I'm going to change challenge to the word breeze. If you say something is a breeze, it means something is easy. Next one says simile or metaphor, and what does it mean? It says she is a giant compared to the other players. So we are looking for those keywords to determine if we have a simile or a metaphor. I don't see either one, so we know that it's going to be a metaphor. You're comparing two things without one of those keywords. Now, what is this sentence saying? If you are saying that she is a giant, you are saying that she is tall. All right, on the next box, we need to expand this sentence. It says, the tiger slept all day. Now, if you're expanding the sentence, you are adding more detail to it. So I'm going to say, the exhausted tiger slept all day. All right, and the last box on Monday, it says correct the sentence by adding commas. Jeffrey's backpack had paper, notebooks, and pencils inside. Now I see that we have a series of 3 items. We're talking about paper, notebooks, and pencils. So we need commas to separate our series. So put a comma after paper and a comma after notebooks. I'm just going to pause for a second and then I'll move on to Tuesday. All right, the first box on Tuesday says to correct the dialogue. Remember, when you are talking about dialogue, you are talking about what someone is saying. So it says, my PlayStation is broken because of you, yelled Julia. All right, so we know that when we are looking at dialogue, we need to have quotations around what is being said. So we see that yelled Julia is not actually part of the quote. So that is not going to go inside the quotation marks. So we know that we need it around the rest of the sentence. Now, if we are saying that Julia is yelling, that means there's a lot of emotion behind what is being said. So instead of a comma or a period or a question mark, we would need an exclamation mark. Make sure you always put your punctuation inside the quotations when you are working with dialogue. All right, the next box says which words have a root that means right. Now we are referring back to this word list. Think back to the review that you have done previously. We know that we are looking for scribe or script to mean right. So let's see which words have one of those roots. All right, the first one I see is going to be postscript. Postscript. All right, next I see the word describe. I also see the word inscription. And there is one more, manuscript. So those four look like the ones that would go with the roots that mean right. All right, the next box says which word best completes the sentence. I read the long blank telling about the history of the country. So again, we're looking back to this list right here. If we know that we are trying to figure out what fills in this blank best, we need to look at the sentence and think about what is being said. I read the long blank telling about the history of the country. So let's see which one of these words would make the most sense. In this case, it's going to be manuscript. Now, a manuscript is going to be something that is written by a person that gives information. All right, next, which word or phrase best completes the sentence? You have however, also, and similarly. Amy wants an Xbox for her birthday. Blank, she would be just as happy with the puppy. All right, let's see how all of these words sound in the sentence. Amy wants an Xbox for her birthday. However, she would be just as happy with the puppy. Okay, so however sounds like it could work. Amy wants an Xbox for her birthday. Also, she would be just as happy with a puppy. Now, you're not saying that she wants the Xbox and she wants the puppy. So also really doesn't fit here. All right, Amy wants an Xbox for her birthday. Similarly, she would be just as happy with a puppy. Again, you're not saying something that is the same or alike. So we're going to mark out that one. So in this case, we need to use however. All right, write the homograph that completes both sentences. Number one says she tied a blank in her hair. Number two, the actor took a blank at the end of the show. Now, if we are looking at these two sentences, the only word that would make sense would be B-O-W. Now, it's spelled the same. However, when it's used in these different sentences, you pronounce it differently. For number one, she tied a bow in her hair. For number two, the actor took a bow at the end of the show. All right, your next box says, what does the idiom mean? I'm all ears. Now, if you are all ears, you're not literally saying that you are made up of all ears. You are telling someone that you are listening to what they are saying. All right, next one asks us to combine the sentences. Young tigers look friendly. They are wild animals. All right, for this one, I think the best way to combine them would be to say, young tigers look friendly, but they are wild animals. All right, the last box says correct the sentence by adding commas. It says, please buy bread, milk, and butter next time you visit the grocery store. So again, we see a series of items. We are buying bread, milk, and butter. So we know with items in a series, we need to separate them with commas. So you need a comma after bread and a comma after milk. I'm going to pause for a second and we'll move on to Wednesday. All right, for the first box on Wednesday, we need to figure out if this sentence is simple, compound, or complex. He sits in his seat and he completes all of his work. All right, so we know that this is not a simple sentence because we have a comma and we have a conjunction. All right, let's see. He sits in his seat. That could be an independent clause because you could have that as a sentence by itself. And he completes all of his work. If we just left he completes all of his work without the conjunction, that could also be a complete sentence on its own. So I'm going to say this is a compound sentence. Okay, on the second box, it says, which words have a root that means to speak? Now, if you remember from your other spiral review, this is going to be the root word DIC or DICT. So let's see which words from our list would go with that root. I see the word contradict. I see dictation. And I see dictator. So those are the three that we need to have for the root that means speak. Okay, so the next box says, which word means a leader who speaks and rules with total power? All right, so if we're looking at these words, the only one from this list that would make sense of a ruler or a leader who speaks and rules with total power is going to be a dictator. Okay, the next box says, what part of speech is underlined? It says, my pencil is in my pencil case. Now we know that we are looking at this last part of the sentence because it is following the underlined word, in my pencil case. We know that that is called a prepositional phrase. It is telling you where the pencil is. So if we have a prepositional phrase, we know that the word in has to be a preposition. All right, for the next one, it says, which word could replace the underlined word? The artist was passionate about the sculpture she made. Okay, so let's see what our three words are. We have emotional, uninvolved, and detached. Now, I see two words that have a very similar meaning. Uninvolved and detached. Both are going to mean that you're not really part of it. You aren't really concerned about it. It doesn't really mean a lot to you. So those are not going to be the same thing as passionate. So let's mark those out. That leaves us with emotional. If someone is passionate about something, they are showing strong emotions about it. So emotional would be a good fit for this one. All right, the next box, simile or metaphor, and what does it mean? Your sentence says, the wind was like a sweet song in the sky. Now, I do see one of my key words here. So we know that if we see one of those key words, when we are comparing two things, we are using a simile. Now, what does it mean? The wind was like a sweet song in the sky. This is going to mean something like the wind made a pleasant sound. All right, on the next one, we need to reduce the sentence. We have the tiger, while young and innocent looking, is actually very dangerous. All right, so we don't really need this middle part right here if we're going to reduce it. So now we're left with the tiger is actually very dangerous. which would be fine, but we want to make sure that we are also describing the tiger just so the rest of the sentence makes sense. So we've marked out this middle piece here, but we are going to take a couple of the words from that and add it to the sentence. So we are left with the young and innocent tiger is actually very dangerous. All right, and then your last one on Wednesday, correct the sentence by adding commas. People like her most because she is friendly, thoughtful, and kind. Again, I see items in a series here. We are describing the girl as friendly, thoughtful, and kind. So we know that we need a comma after friendly and a comma after thoughtful. I'll take a second and pause, and then we'll move on to Thursday. All right, on Thursday, it says, which best completes the sentence? We have more slimier, slimier, or slimiest. The worm was blank than the snake. So we are comparing two different things here. So we know that our word ending in EST is not going to be correct. So we have the worm was more slimier than the snake, or the worm was slimier than the snake. Now, if you read that to yourself, you know that the word slimier is going to be the one that sounds correct. Okay, the next one asks us which words have a prefix that means on top of, over, or above. So if we look back to our word list, if you find a word that has soup or super as the root word, that is going to, or as a prefix, that is going to be what you are looking for. So we see supermarket. We see Superman, and we see superior. So those are the three that you need for the prefix of soup or super. All right, the next box, which word best completes the sentence? The second story I wrote is blank to the first. So we are comparing the second story you wrote to the first story you wrote. Now, which one of these words would talk about making a comparison between the two? In this case, I'm going to go with superior. So you are saying that the second story you wrote is better or greater than the first one. All right, the next box, where does the comma go? As a result, all players are suspended until further notice. So we are going to put this comma after the word result. As a result, comma, all players are suspended until further notice. All right, on the next one, which word can mean a hot, dry region and to leave? So you have forest, escape, and desert. Now, forest is just talking about an area with a lot of trees. So it really doesn't mean either one of those. All right, let's look at escape. A hot, dry region. I really don't think that's what escape is going to mean. However, it does mean to leave. So it means half of what we're looking for, but not all of it. Now, desert. We have a hot, dry region. If you pronounce the word desert as dessert, that could also mean to leave. So this is another example of a homograph. It is spelled the same, but it is pronounced differently. On the next box, what does the adage or proverb mean? Waste not, want not. This is basically saying if you don't waste, you will always have enough. All right, the next box says combine the sentence. Young tigers look friendly. They are wild animals. So we need to figure out how to make these two sentences combined into one. So let's say while young tigers look friendly, comma, they are wild animals. And the last box, correct the sentence by adding commas. Haley spent her day picking flowers, planting seeds, and digging up weeds. Okay, so again, we see items in a series. We are talking about the different things that Haley spent her day doing. We see picking flowers, we see planting seeds, and we see digging up weeds. So we need a comma after flowers, and we need a comma after seeds. All right, if you need to go back and watch this to check over your answers, you are welcome to do so.